Good evening, folks. And Newcastle United are facing Crystal Palace this Saturday. Can the Toon keep their European hopes alive? Find out here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Oh, brilliant from Sham. And now Murphy can take on the shot. Fabian Sham
All right, good evening and God bless, folks. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you've had a great day, no matter where you are, what you're doing, whether you are about to go to sleep and you just needed to hear some tactical analysis, some breakdown, some Newcastle news, or you're about to go off to work, or you're about to head out, whatever you're doing, and you just need to hear some conversation around Newcastle United, and you want to be able to put your two pence worth. I hope this show can do it for you. Do feel free to share your views and opinions into the chat, whatever it is. Last time the chat was really, really buzzing with some great questions, some great challenges as well. And I'm sure we all need a little bit of therapy after that West Ham result and everything else. But now we're moving on from that. We've got Crystal. I need to say West Ham again. We've got Crystal Palace this Saturday away at Selhurst Park. Now, our last away performance, by the way, against Nottingham Forest was really, really good. So let's see if we can replicate that coming into this Saturday. So I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to get right into this a match review into Crystal Palace. Before I get into the kind of like the stats and stuff, I want to be able to. Do I want to go to the stats first, or do I want to go into the? Let me see. Let me share my tab first. Let's just do a little bit of background on the teams first, and then we'll go into the style of play and everything else. Analyzing our opponent, obviously, that is Crystal Palace. So here they are here. Let's get a bit of head to head with them with us. All right, so let me make sure you guys can see my screen. Oh no, I haven't shared my screen yet. Here we go. Add to stage. Here we go. Right. So 3:00 kickoff on the Saturday at Selhurst, as we have said. Now, interestingly, going into the game, for us, obviously, there was that news around Bruno Gomes. Is he going to be in the squad? Is he not going to be in the squad? In terms of he had an injury, possible an injury to his gluteus maximus, and so it's touch and go essentially to see if he's going to be playing. I think he will be. I think Mr. Eddie Howe is. I say this, but I'm not there in the changing room, I suppose. But I can only assume, and I'm hoping so, that if it's a muscular injury, which I think it is, it's something that I'm sure a massage can fix. So I just think we're doing a little bit of play here. So I'm gonna, when you guys see my lineup, Mr. Bruno Gomes is in my squad, though. I will do a little bit of alternative options if he's not in the squad. Obviously, Emil Kraft is out of a collarbone, isn't expected back until mid-January. Jamal Lascelles also in January. Sven Botman is obviously the crucial. That's the one we're really waiting for. Waiting for all of them, but obviously in terms of, I'm really waiting for Sven Botman. It says it's due back in January. Hopefully, we'll see him in December as well. But as long as he's ready. Joe Willock's apparently been on football with a calf injury, but obviously we've seen him in the training photograph, so we can expect him to be playing. So we've only got about four guys out. I'm going to be expecting the return of Mr. Dan Burn after his suspension. No doubt, he's returning into the lineup after, unfortunately, Mr. Kelly did not cover himself in glory in that game against West Ham. So I do fully expect Burn to return. Now, Palace have got a few injuries or concerns of their own. And I have been listening to some of their fan channels as well. And they've been talking about how essentially, yes, they're playing a more progressive style of football, very attacking style of football that acquires a lot of running. And we, as Newcastle fans, can relate to this part where, as a result of this progressive style of football and lots of running up and down the pitch, more than they were doing before, obviously under Hodgson, where they were more conservative and playing low blocks and playing from out the back, playing this more progressive style on the glass now, which has been great, especially last year, has resulted in a lot of injuries. And since that has happened, Crystal Palace haven't got the depth or the numbers of players to be able to rotate as much as they like, which leads to the ever-growing injury um, table they have, which obviously Daichi Kamada is suspended, but Adam Morton's out until December of a groin injury. Chase Riyad is also out of a knee injury, but the significant one is Eberechi Eze. And I did see a stat where without him, they only win about 15% of their games. With him, they win 40% of their games. And they've only won one game so far this season. So that stat is proven to be right. And that game they did win against Tottenham. Did he play? I wonder. Maybe not. But he's out of a hamstring injury. Edwin Nketiah, also a hamstring injury. And Mateus Franca also out of a broken rib. So they have a lot of injury concerns, Palace, and they are really kind of coming in quite suffering in terms of players that are available. Having said that, they are coming back of a very, very plucky, brave draw against Villa, away at Villa, which was a 2-2 game. It looked like a good game from what I've seen in the highlights. And so in the last 5 games, as you guys can see, they've drawn 2, lost 1, and won 2. One of those games, I think, was... Have they won 2 games? They played Villa twice, so that must have been the League Cup game. So obviously they are through to the quarterfinals of the League Cup as well as that win against Tottenham as well. So that's the one solitary win they've got so far this season. Whereas obviously in our last 5, we lost 2 and won 3. Again, that was one of those League Cup games against Chelsea. So yeah, they're coming in terms of a little bit interesting form. Not too dissimilar to our own. We've obviously got one more victory than them in terms of the last 5 games. We've got 5 victories so far in the Premier League itself. So Crystal Palace are suffering quite a bit. And in terms of their head-to-heads with us, let's see what we've got in the last... we'll go to the table in a moment, actually. No, let's go to the table first. Let's go to the table first to see where Crystal Palace are at and where we're at. We're obviously currently 10th on 18 points. And should we win this game... And I feel like obviously I said this against West Ham, but should we win this game, we go into 6th position if obviously all the other results go our way with 21 points. And we could have been 6th now, really, had we beat West Ham at home, which is a tragedy. We didn't do that. We've gone back to 0 in terms of our goal difference. So 13 goals scored, 13 goals conceded. Going into game week 13, so we need to really break even. Essentially, we need to really step on the gas, I feel. And I do feel, and I think I've said this before on the show, that look, that international break after the Nottingham Forest away game came at a bad time for us. That's what I feel. That game where we scored 3 goals, it's the first time we scored 3 goals, more than 2 goals this season, I think, as well. And I think we were just getting momentum going as well, getting players back. And had we played West Ham the following week rather than 2 weeks' time, I think we would have even had a higher chance of winning the game than we did coming back from the internationals. So because we're just getting our rhythm getting going as well, and everything else that was going. So I feel like we're restarting again. Obviously after that loss to West Ham and coming off that international break. Even when I say restarting, we're restarting in the sense of those games where we won, Forest, Arsenal, and Chelsea, the League Cup game, we began to finally play well and get results. Whereas before, the last 3 or 4 games before that, we were playing well but not getting the results. So we were marrying the two in the last 3 games, doing good performances and getting good results. Where now we had a decent performance against West Ham. I think we were the better team in different aspects, apart from the goal scoring aspect, which is the most important one. And obviously we suffered for that. So what I'm hoping is going against against Crystal Palace, we'll be able to match the performance with the result. But we'll see. Where is Crystal Palace? Crystal Palace are 2nd from bottom. And that's because they've only won 1. How many have they lost? 5? No, they've drawn 5. They won 1, drawn 5, which gives them 6 points, and they lost 6. So that's a lot. And they've only scored 10 goals, 3 less than us, but they've only scored 10 goals and they've conceded 17. So you can see where the problem is. And obviously they're on minus 7 goal difference. Sorry, they've got 8 points. Excuse me. They've got 8 points. So they're playing us next. They're playing at home. And that is the situation. They really need the victory. A victory for them would pull them out of the relegation zone, possibly, if results go their way, and it could take them as high as 15th. So they've got a lot of incentive to come out and play against us, which they will do anyway. They've got 3-4-3-4 formation. They're no longer as we know, they're no longer the Palace of Roy Hodgson. They are the Palace of Glasner, which means they are more progressive, high pressing team and very direct in their play, which we'll see. We've obviously got incentive of our own, which is that if we get a victory, we stay in that pack, that hunting pack for the Champions League spot. My worry is that if we lose, for instance, you will start to see Brighton, Tottenham, obviously Arsenal and whoever else, Chelsea pull away. I expect that they probably win their games as well. They'll have they'll start to build a gap now of like 6 points, 5, 6, 7 points. And that's just going to be really difficult to close down. So it's important for Newcastle to get the W in this game. So Crystal Palace, what do we need to know about Crystal Palace? Now, this is a little bit of a analysis from Adrian Clark from the Premier League website. This is last year, and talking about Palace's playing style, which has remained consistent into this year so far. Well, obviously a few tactical adjustments because of the personnel they've got, but it's still very much the 3-4-3. It's still very much a progressive style of football, and this is a little bit of a snippet of how they play as well. So it's going to give us when we're looking at the tactical board, this is what we can anticipate from them. But before I get into that, let me read the comments, see you guys coming in. Really good to see some familiar faces as always. Please do, folks, remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I'm glad to be hanging out with you this evening. Oliver Simon Jordan, good to see you, sir. I hope you are well. Hang on, Phil. We need a victory more than them. No, don't get me confused. We definitely need a victory more than them. We're here for Champions League spot, so we definitely need a victory more than them. Absolutely, I agree with you. We need a 10-game winning run. That would be great. That would be fabulous. If we can put that together. And you know what, Oliver? Let me know what you think, and not just Oliver, but everybody else. Had that international break not happened, and I know I'm speaking hypotheticals and if, buts, and maybes, but had the international break not happened and we played the next 8-9 games, the rhythm that we were getting into, remember, we just won 3 games on the trot, including Arsenal, including Chelsea, in the League Cup, including Nottingham Forest away, who were the team on hot form, and we controlled them, we bossed them, we beat them convincingly. Had we played, I feel strongly that had we played West Ham without international break straight away, 5-6 days later on a Saturday, I think we would have beat them and we would have continued. We would have continued our run. That's my theory, anyway. But let me know what you guys think. I just think the international break disrupted our rhythm. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. But let me know what you guys think. What's your feelings about that? Thomas Boyes, good to see you, sir. Hope you are well. I have a question, Philip. Why has Slot got Liverpool playing like gods, and how can't copy their system by buying 2 aggressive centre midfielders who make runs, buy inside forwards, and let the back 4 cover self? Cover. Well, it's a really, really good question, Thomas, and you let me know. I think I would say, in what you've just said, Newcastle need to buy about 2 to 4 players, I think, in a transfer window, which, because of PSR, we are unable to do that. So that would be difficult. But in terms of getting how getting Newcastle to play like Liverpool, we have to remember Liverpool in the past 5 to 8 years are champions, are a well-oiled machine in terms of their structure, their board of governance, their managers from Klopp to Slot. Slot only won the PS, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he won the Dutch league or Dutch Cup last year. Obviously, Minte played for him as well. So my point is they have a better structure and they've got 4 to 5 world-class players currently. Salah, Alisson, Trent Alexander, and Van Dijk. We don't have one world-class player. So to compare Newcastle and Liverpool, to me, at this stage, is like comparing apples to oranges. So even if we're able to buy those players 3 to 4, if we'd have to hope that all those players are successful, we'd have to hope that at least 1 or 2 of them are world-class. So again, the probabilities for that are a lot more difficult. So it's difficult for Howe, in my opinion, for any manager, not just Howe. If any manager managed Newcastle right now, it would be difficult for them to replicate the form that Liverpool are doing right now with the squad that they have. And that's no slight to our squad. It's just the reality at the moment. And that's my kind of view on it. But we are developing, we are growing, we are getting better. I'll read one more comment before I get back onto Crystal Palace and their style of football. I think that's a really good challenge, Thomas, and I appreciate you for that. You've come back as well. Philip, a lot of Liverpool squad costs less than what we've spent. Okay, yeah, I see. Possibly, I have to read into that. I see Normans. I see Normans are a Van Dijk as a striker. Gordon running in on goals. We have players to be forward, to be a forward attacking team. I think if I've read you correctly, Tom, I think if I don't know if you're assuming if you're saying we're not an attacking team. I think we are an attacking team. I spent less, and forgive me if you are saying that. Maybe I'm misreading it. We spent a C normal. So Philip, a lot of Liverpool squad cost less than what we've spent. Well, let me know what players you're on. What you're referring to, because Nunes cost 80 million. Jota was what 40, 50 million. Which players cost less? And also, again, that goes back to Liverpool. If there are players, I'm sure there will be. McAllister, for instance, they got him on the release clause and stuff like that. That goes to their structure, their scouting system, their network. Newcastle, I don't know if you saw the news today, for instance. I think it's Jack. We promoted a gentleman. I forgot his name. To be building. He's going to be kind of networking, building relationships to get our players out there. If you look at Liverpool's current infrastructure, they've already got several of those guys, I'm sure, kind of building networks around of clubs already. So Newcastle have been in the dark ages in terms of our structure and everything else for a while. So I just find it very difficult to compare Liverpool and Newcastle on any metric at the moment, any metric whatsoever. They are just better than us. Hence why they're World Cup champions, they're Champions League champions, they're Premier League champions, they're domestic cup winners. It's not by accident. So that's my kind of point of view. But do come back to me, let me know about that. Let me just talk a little bit about, I'm going to read more comments along as well, guys. It's good to see more and more of you coming in. Please do like, share, and subscribe, folks, and do let me know how your evening is. Let me know where you guys are coming in from. We've just did the little league table analysis. Kind of building the foundations for the game. Palace are second from bottom. If they win, they get to 15th. We know all about that relegation struggle. By the grace of God, we haven't experienced it in the last 3 years. We're now about that Champions League qualification struggle. And so if we do win, obviously, hopefully, if other results go our way, we get into the 6th position, which was what we're supposed to hopefully get against West Ham. But we'll get there. So Crystal Palace style of play obviously has changed under Glasner. We experienced it last year. I was at the game last year, and they fully deserved beating us at Selhurst Park. I grossly underestimated some of their players when I did the match preview for that game. I won't be making that mistake in this analysis. So what is this is the style of play as described as of last year, but it's very much similar to now. So, and this is from the Premier League, from Mr. Who said this? Adrian Clark. Team analysis, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace have undergone a tactical revolution since Oliver Glasner took charge in February. Yeah, that's when they went on a really good run. And his players have responded to the changes with great enthusiasm. Obviously, they struggled this year, but that's what happens when you're in your second year with these things. And when teams now get to know your system a little bit better, which Newcastle discovered to their detriment. The Austrian has switched to a 3-4-2-1 formation. So you'll see on the formations as 3-4-3. You'll see it on a tactical board, but it does go into a 3-4-2-1, obviously in different phases of play as well. that has brought them 4 wins, and that's obviously last year. This is not now. I brought them 4 wins and 3 draws in 10 Premier League matches, which is a really good form, actually, including shock victory at Anfield. So pressing with greater intensity. Yeah, they are a pressing side, playing with more width with their wing backs and using the gifted Eberechi Eze and Michael Olise, who obviously Eze is now injured, unfortunately for him. Fortunately for us, Michael Olise, who we bid for, is now in Bayern Munich. So they're 2 main number 10s, and you see they've got 2 number 10s behind a striker, which is Mateta, are not available for this game. As twin 10s, the Eagles of Transformation has been popular with supporters at Selhurst Park. And we're going to go to the tactical board at one point, but yeah, I mean, so they're in it says a 3-4-2-1. But it's a 3-4-3 that goes into a 3-4-2-1 it's a 3-4-3 that can go into a 3-4-2-1 in different phases. They love to play with the 2 number 10s behind the striker, the wing backs, which was Muniz, who was injured, and Mitchell, who is playing, bombing up and down the field with 2 pivots. In this game, I think it would be Hughes and Decore, who himself is slowly coming back from injury, but he's a very talented midfielder, kind of being disciplined and staying in that midfield as well. That allows them to defend well, but also to break and counter on the attacks as well. So we'll see how that game goes. And obviously, they just got a 2-2 draw away at Aston Villa, which proved successful. I'm going to show a bit of highlights from that game, which shows how well that style of football has worked for them. But I want to kind of go into their overall team form now. Let me see where we are. How are Crystal Palace doing in terms of like just general form? What are their stats at the moment? Can you guys see this on the thing? Yes, you can. So let me find it. Crystal Palace. What are they doing well? What are they not doing well? Obviously, they're not doing. There might be quite a few things. They're currently second from bottom. So let's see. So teams, how are they doing statistically at the moment? So Palace, they've got a FOTMOB rating of their 15th currently. So they're, if they take all their metrics that FOTMOB is reading, is according to FOTMOB, they kind of rated as 15th. Where are we rated in terms of? So that's Liverpool. How do they rate us at the moment? FOTMOB. FOTMOB rate us as 9th, and we are 9th in the league. That's annoying, because I think we're better than that. So goals per match, not a lot, 0.8. We're not too dissimilar. They've got 10 goals so far this season. We've got 13, which is annoying again, because I think we could have, like I said, the international break knocked our rhythm, in my opinion. They're 9th in terms of goals conceded. They conceded 17 so far. Average possession, I don't take too much from possession nowadays. It's 44%. I think we're not too far above them, and I think partly that's because they play a very direct style. And when I go, and I'm sure if you guys saw the Villa game, I'm going to show a few highlights of their goals in particular. You see how direct their style is. Sometimes too direct, which is to their detriment. Their expected goals are quite low as well. Their expected goals on XG is 15. But they've actually got 10 goals, so they're about 5 goals below. So they're performing, they're underperforming in terms of their goals. I wonder how much Newcastle are Newcastle underperforming. So if I think how they work out the XG is obviously shots and target quality of shots and actual goals. And according to FOTMOB, they should have had at least 15 goals, but they've got 10. What about Newcastle? Where are we in terms of that? Oh gosh, we're not here in the top 10. Which could be a good or a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe our conversion rate is improving. Wow. Sheesh. Wow, we're 11th. And according to this, again, to FOTMOB, our expected goal is 18. We've got 13. And I remember talking about this before, if you guys remember. We missed that penalty through Gordon at Everton. I don't know if you remember that open goal against Fulham with Shaw, stuff like that. Like, it's been horrendous. So we should have had at least 18. The one-on-ones against Brighton, I think we had about 2 of those. So, oh gosh, if we had 18 goals now, where would we be? Is what I'm thinking. Shots on target per match for Crystal Palace, they're about 5.0. They're about 9th in the league for that. Big chances, they've created 19. So far, there are 4 teams. And I read that also up to analysts. So they do get shots on goals and stuff like that, but they're not creating good chances on goal. They're very low on that. And I wonder, what that is. And I think that's down to the fact their quality of number 10. So when you miss, obviously Elise's gone, Eze's injured, any team would suffer not having those type of quality of players around. Big chances missed. They're fought, so they don't create a lot of chances, and so that's why they're low on that league as well. Accurate passes, so they're struggling on their passes. They were 15th in the league for that. So they're struggling. They're struggling on a lot of fronts. Palace. They don't spend a lot of time in the box either. Neither do we. We need to improve on that as well. So it's going to be an interesting game in terms of that, not getting a lot of corners either. They are good. They're decent in terms of interceptions per match. And what that tells me, if we're talking about in terms of being able to be positionally in places where you can cut out passes, is that structurally and positionally they're doing quite well. So Newcastle have to be good with passing. They have been decent in terms of, we have been decent in our passing, I think, in terms of accurate passing. We haven't always been incisive of our passing, which we talked about in the match reaction against West Ham. So obviously on our flanks, for instance, how we rotate our players and create chances, we're pretty good, but essentially we haven't been good. And that's because we showed the example of, for instance, Joe Linton and I forgot the other gentleman. With Isak's making runs centrally, and I think it was not Longstaff. Longstaff. We just didn't pass it centrally when those opportunities are there. So we need to be a little bit more riskier, take risks in those situations, and I think we can be a lot more threatening through the middle, especially against Crystal Palace, and we'll show that. They're third for tackles per match, so they're pretty active in the tackles. Obviously, we're going to be playing against Mark Gahey. We'll get to see a little bit more how good he is. They're 11th in terms of possession ones in the final third, and yada yada yada. So they're 7th in terms of saves per match. So that, their goalkeeper is having to save at least 3 to 4 shots per game, which tells me, and obviously the team that's conceded 17 goals already this season tells me Newcastle are going to get opportunities on Crystal Palace's goal. The big question is, are we going to convert it? My hope is that we'll show the same form as against Nottingham Forest, and we'll show it against Crystal Palace, and hopefully that will be the case. So, do I want to go? I want to go maybe a little bit into the. Is there anything I want else to show? This is the Opta Analyst stats. And before I go into that, I'm going to read you the comments as well to see how you guys are doing. And then we'll get into that tactics and everything else. Davey, Eddie, good to see you, sir. Hope you are well. Totally agree about the international break, Philip. Okay, good. We lost momentum and looked bereft of ideas around the box like we did in October. I really, really do believe that, because we were so much improving on that, in my opinion. And so, yeah, hopefully we'll get that back against Palace. That'll be huge, especially I think we play Liverpool at home the next game. And I want to be coming into good form in that game. Thomas Boys, Philip, any team can build a side like Liverpool. If that was the case, why aren't they? Would be my question. They don't have the money. They do have the name. It's possible to build an attacking team. Yeah, Brighton did that. But are they as good as Liverpool? We just need a Terzic forward thinking manager. How isn't? Okay, so I like Terzic. I do like Terzic. But as I said before, me personally, I don't know what Howe's ceiling is. And maybe that's because I just can't see. Maybe other people have better foresight. I'm sure they do. I don't think Howe knows what his ceiling is. Could he be better than a Terzic? I just don't know. I think we're definitely finding out this season for sure. But I like Terzic. I think as well. There'll be other candidates, I'm sure, but I so far think Howe is the man for Newcastle. Philip, I just see Thomas Boys again. Philip, I just see any team can make a top squad. Leicester did it. And then they went. Then they crashed and got relegated. But I know what you mean. Spurs built on pennies. They built a whole stadium, which is what we're doing. It's possible, but not under Howe. And if you talk to Spurs fans, they're not overly happy with their squad. They don't mind it, and they've spent a lot of money building it. I think they'll argue they've spent a lot of money. They haven't spent it well. It's possible, but not under the how. I'm sorry. I know you back him, but I back Mitchell. He's proven. I back Mitchell too. I back whoever gets Newcastle to become Premier League number one and Champions League, whether it's Howe, whether it's Terzic, whoever it is. The main thing is, can Howe and Eddie, can Howe and Mitchell work together? I hope they can, because I think that would benefit the club. That'll be my view. But I appreciate you, Thomas. You make some really good points. I think till our wingers are more direct, isn't we won't climb up the table. Which wingers? You think Gordon? I think Gordon's very direct. He's not. He's having a mixed form, and we need a better right wing forward for sure. For sure, I'll agree with. And Barnes, they're pretty direct guys, you know. But we definitely need a right wing forward that's direct. We got 100 goals last. We got over 100 goals last season in all comps. Did we get over 100 goals last season? Guys, look into this. I didn't know that. Is that true? Did we get over 100 goals last season? Did we? Guys, let me know. I find it hard to believe. Or maybe we did. Liam knows. Liam, I don't know if this is your first time in a show, but welcome. Apologies if you've been here before, but welcome. I hope you're doing well. I'm glad you've joined tonight. West Ham was just a bad day at the office, and I hope that's the case. I really, really, really do. Should rotate. Rest Bruno. Trips for Tino. Wilson for Isak. Strong bench. Interesting. I wouldn't. Some good. Let me know what you think of the lineup if you stay long enough. I'll see what you think. It's Philip 4 seasons. Last 18 months have been a hit. Mad miss. I can't see top 4 this season. Well, let's see. I'm holding out my hopes. I think the probabilities are low. I do agree with you, but I think we still have I think we still do have a shout. Liam knows how needs to be judged when he is given a squad to compete. I think how would argue that if we obviously we have had two windows where we didn't spend money, but I don't know if you've not, but I think Howe is also responsible for that. So I don't know if you mean if he's been backed. I do think he's been backed. I don't know if that's the question you're answering, but if you're right, if we, for instance, bought Gahey and we bought another right wing forward, we'll probably be high up the table and we'll be doing better. But I think we have to move. I think he has been given a squad, but he's and the previous some of the previous owners that we had didn't sell very well, and so that's why we haven't got a squad that we want at the moment. Read a couple more before we start. See here the point. Mitchell can sign all top talent he wants, but if Howe can't figure out where the game is going wrong during games, he's not the man. And you know what? Sometimes Howe does mess up during games, but then sometimes, for instance, not in the Forest game, we were not 1-0 down. He made the changes, particularly in the second half, and we won 3-1. So I kind of see the balance there, in my opinion, as well. It was the same against Wolves. We were 1-0 down. Second half, he makes the changes, brings on Tonali, brings on Barnes. There was a third person he brought on. I don't know what happened. And finally, Philip, 85 goals in the Premier League. That's not, I thought he's alone. 85 goals in the Premier League alone. Oh, yeah. What, last season? Or was that the season before? I'll have to double check that. If it was a Champions League season, when we qualify for the Champions League, I think I'll probably be with you on that. But I can't imagine we did that last season. I hope if that's the case, that'll be incredible. But nice shout there. Otherwise, there was something I wanted to show you guys on Opta Analyst. Have I guys got you there? Yeah, I do. Around Crystal Palace. Now this is what I was talking about in terms of Crystal Palace themselves. Where I think they might be the reason why they've only got 10 goals this season is obviously they are creating chances, not as many chances. So if you look at their stats, for instance, their stats aren't too dissimilar to ours, which is scary. But the fact is that they haven't got as good as players as we do. And they have not been as clinical in front of goals. So if we look at the attacking side of things, for instance, we'll do it per game. There was one I wanted to look at, and we talked about this, which is they're creating chances, but they're not creating big chances. They're only like they were like 17th in the league for big chances. They're very low on the league for that. And I think obviously when you're missing Olise, when you're missing Eze, that's where the difficulty is. So XG per shot. So that XG, when you XG is obviously the quality of that kind of shot in itself. We're sixth for that, so it's not too bad. But for instance, Palace are bottom of the table for that, 0.09. So the shots they are getting off aren't very good for whatever reason. I don't know what that is about. Goals versus XG. Where are they? So for the goals they've had according to the shots they've taken, they're down there with us actually. So which is similar to what FotMob was saying. FotMob says that they should have had at least 15 goals. Opta Analyst believes they should have had 14. Very similar. They think we should have had 13 goals. So Opta Analyst thinks that we're pretty much on par in terms of our goals. Whereas FotMob thinks we should have 18 goals. I agree with FotMob because we missed penalties and stuff. So we're both teams that aren't the greatest in front of goal at the moment. But I think Newcastle have a lot more hope because of the caliber of players that we've got. So I kind of bring that up because I think that's what we should look out for in terms of this game, because I anticipate that there will be chances made in this game. It's going to come down to who converts those chances. And again, West Ham aren't the greatest in terms of, I don't know, I'll have to see their stats, but I don't think they were the greatest in terms of creating chances, but they took their chances against us. And nowadays, it appears to me, as always, there's a small margin of error, and goals change games. And that West Ham goal changed the game. And Newcastle have to put, if that, for instance, and actually, if you guys remember, we scored a goal first, but it was obviously ruled offside. Had Isak, just time, he was doing his best, to be fair. He did the curve run, but had maybe the pass come a little bit quicker, whatever, and we would have gone a goal up. The whole nature of that game, the whole reality of that game, in my view, totally changes if Newcastle go a goal up, in my view as well. So I wanted to kind of share that. Obviously, what do you call it? Crystal Palace playing a 3-4-3 that in phases goes into a 3-4-2-1. They love to play with the 2-10s. They faced a lot of injuries though, so they haven't, and obviously also transfers. Olise has been sold to Bayern Munich, so Eze is currently injured, so the two main number 10s are away. This is their last game against Villa, where they drew 2-2 away at Villa, and obviously Villa are doing what we're doing last season. They're trying to handle, was it last year? Last season, where they're having to handle Champions League, they're handling Premier League at the same time, and they're doing okay. But they're tired. Like we were. I don't know what the injuries are like. I'm not going to make any excuses, but they drew 2-2 to Palace at home. And if you look at this momentum chart just here as well, Villa had obviously the attacking momentum chart. Villa here are in green. Villa here are in green, and Palace are in blue. And Palace, had very small moments of actually causing any kind of disturbance to Villa, but the opportunities they did take, especially the second goal, it appears on here. I didn't see the game. I'm just looking at this attacking momentum. They did seem to have scored against the run of play, Palace, whereas Villa dominated, but only scored 2 goals. I say only scored 2 goals from the domination, attacking momentum they created, and that highlights again what the Premier League is about and what it's been for Newcastle, where if you're on top, you have to take advantage of being on top. You have to score, you have to put it away. And if there's any concern I have, is that Newcastle need to take their chances, put their chances in the back of the net. And I'll show you how Palace, what Palace did well actually in this game. Now, because they played away, Palace, let me make sure you guys can see it. Before I show you guys these highlights, I'm going to read the comments as well. Because they played away, Palace, I don't know how differently they will be at home. Like I said, they have to come out and play. But that 3-4-3 style they play is very, very direct. And you'll see from the goal they scored, Palace, and the goal they conceded, the benefit and the directness of their play when they score goals, but also the disadvantage of it as well. And so I do expect, for instance, Newcastle to have quite a bit of the ball in this game as well. But it's going to be important how we defend against it against the transitions as well, because I think Palace are going to rely on that a lot, and they're going to be doing long balls just like West Ham did to try and hurt us on the break. So let me read the comments before I go into the highlights of the Villa Palace game and kind of show the strengths and weaknesses of Palace, and then we'll finish off with the tactical board, some predictions and some conclusions. Thomas Boys, I'm sorry, however, built a squad 20 players. He's had that excuse making. Is that for the squad? Possibly. I just think if we remember where Newcastle were coming from, which is we were heading for relegation essentially when the takeover happened, to where we are now. I just don't think you can build a consistent Champions League qualifying squad in 3 years and 6 windows under the current PSR conditions. We've got the richest owners in the world and we can't spend that money. And I think we've done the best we could under the circumstances. Could there have been changes made? 150%, especially in terms of the selling part of the situation as well. We should have sold Almiron long ago. We should have sold the number of players long ago. Hence why Paul Mitchell was here now. And hopefully we'll see us being a lot more clever and better in the market with that as well. And hopefully with the new CEO coming in, will even be better. But you make good points, Thomas. Liam Knowles, reasons to rest players, strong bench for an away game. Invite Crystal Palace onto us to stop low block, rest for Liverpool. It's a good one. So you someone taught me this term recently, actually, on X. They called it, is it artificial? What do they call it? Artificial low block or something like that. I forgot what they call it, where essentially it's exactly what you said. Invite Crystal Palace on, so create a situation, artificial transitions. So we invite the team on so we can hit them on the break type of thing. And it, I think if we have, I think Bruno's going to be fit, and I would play Bruno. I think Bruno and Tonali, I think we'll be able to do that. That'll be interesting to see. Liam, I like the idea. Thomas Boys, last season Newcastle was top on every attacking metric till the last 6 games when Howe bottled top 6, and that form was carried onto the season. Patches of good and bad, that won't get top 6, let alone 4th. Look, there were games. We didn't beat Luton, for instance. Is it Luton? We didn't beat Luton. We lost to Nottingham Forest at home. So those type of things, those type of situations, yeah, they were very, very annoying. However, I do also take into context that for the vast majority of that season, we had like 10 plus injuries. So we didn't have the main players that we had as well. So that's where I think we give some grace. I personally give some grace to Howe, but I definitely take your point. We would have done a lot better had we taken advantage of some of those games. Like we didn't beat Luton once, like I said. I had that as a 6-pointer for us at the beginning of the season. We didn't beat, like I said, Forest at home. Those type of situations were just seriously bad. Ian McKenna, Eddie, good to see you, Ian. Hope you're well. Eddie Howe hasn't bottled anything. That's nonsense. He is trying to take on top 6 that has a vice-like grip on the league, and that vice is unfortunately getting stronger with some of the bills they're trying to pass in the PSR situation as well. Liam Knowles, they will play low block and spring Mateta if Eze is out. Very likely, because that's what I'm going to show in the highlights. Bottled it. Okay. Yeah, all right. Thomas Boys, Philip, you remember they battered us last season? I was there. They did have Eze and Olise, who are incredible to see live. They won't have them in this game. A player has to agree to leave. They have a contract. Okay, that must be a conversation for something else. All right, so let's see some of the highlights. So this is the first goal that Palace scored. Let me make sure you guys can see this on the screen. Yes, you can. So this is Palace are in yellow. Obviously, they're away, and obviously Aston Villa are in the claret. Now, how far can I take this back? I can't take this very back. Okay, this is right at the start of the game, so I can't. This is the furthest. This is the. So essentially, what's happened is Villa were. So excuse me. This is Gay. He's just released the ball. And it's can I get it? Goodness, no, I can't. But essentially, Gahey has just released the ball. Villa, I don't know where they must not have been as intense in the press as they need to be, which is what Newcastle have to be. So even they got the right players in the right position. So I think it's Ollie Watkins on Gahey, Bailey on possibly Mitchell here, and Barkley is it on Decore? I don't know who the front is. It McGinn on Lacroix? That's all good. But if you look here, Tielemans, he can't work out whether to press Hughes. So Hughes has actually taken Tielemans out of his position. Tielemans went to follow Hughes and left this big old gap here. So as you guys will see in the moment, so he hesitated. It literally left a whole big gap in the middle of the midfield. And with one pass, he was able to break the attack. Let me take off the noise here. Was able to get off the attack onto Mateta. I think Liam, you spoke about the counter attack, and this is exactly what's happened. Hughes, clever move. I underestimated Hughes in my last preview of the Palace game. I won't be able. I just thought, he's not as athletic. We'll be able to dominate. That didn't happen. He's not as athletic, but he's very, very good on the ball, and he's got a very good movement off the ball. You've just seen how he was able to take Tielemans out of his position, create this big gap in the midfield, which allowed Gahey to pass the ball onto Mateta. Mateta takes it with one touch, again, splits the defense open. Villa play with a very high line as well, as do most teams who want to be in the top 6, top 8. And obviously, as mentioned, Mr. Ishmael, my mic's falling off here. Why is it falling off? Has something gone off? Let me get my mic. And obviously, it's gone through the gap. Let me fix the mic first before I continue. Mic fix, hopefully. And yeah, again, Mateta, one pass onto Ishmael Sarr, who breaks through the middle. Ian Matson, who I think is trying to get him, is just not strong enough, isn't quick enough. And Ishmael Sarr does a great finish. I don't know if you're thinking what I'm thinking. If Newcastle United are not careful, we could easily see this being Burn or Hall up against Ishmael Sarr getting caught on a break like this. So Newcastle have to be very, very good, very, very good in terms of their press. They have to kind of show the same focus press as they did, for instance, against Chelsea, and ensure that when they are pressing Palace up high, that they are intense in their press and they have worked out how they're going to do that. They don't create those kind of gaps in midfield. They have to be aware of Hughes' movement, that Hughes will try to drop in deep and suck in, whether it's Tonali, whether it's Bruno, and expose the centre backs to Mateta and to Ishmael Sarr, for instance, who will try to break on them, as Liam also said earlier. So all that is important for Newcastle to ensure, which I'm sure this is what Eddie Howe will be pointing out to those guys as well. But this is also, Palace also have their weaknesses as well, and we'll highlight that from the goal that that Aston Villa were able to score. Before I do that, I will get to read some of the comments. Make sure I get this in the right place. All right. So that's the highlight there. Let me go back to the comments, and we'll see what some of the weaknesses of Palace as well, and we'll see that from the goal. Thomas Boys, Philip, one player Hassan has left was Wood. We don't know how many players. There could be another number of other players who also left. So Ian McKenna, Thomas Boy, see, I work in football for a year, and that one thing I learned, it ain't money, the manager and his tactical knowledge and dream system of how we want to play the side signings, but Newcastle just buy. It's okay. See, I work football, I have 4 years. Yeah, yeah, and the manager and his tactical knowledge and dream system. I have to clarify that for me, Tom, if you can. Ian McKenna, Davey, and I'll go back to Palace. I didn't realize there's so many comments. Sorry, guys. I'll get back to I'll read this one and I'll go back to Palace. Davey, Eddie, Philip, how did you feel about Eddie moving Willock and Joelinton from the left-hand side? I was shocked. Willock suffered for that. Not his best game for sure. Do you mean in the second half, Davey, of the game? If you mean the second half, I only saw the first half twice. I'll have to see the second half to be able to give a comprehensive answer on that. For Joelinton, I understand what Eddie Howe was thinking in terms of how well it went for Joelinton against Nottingham Forest when he was on the right-hand side. And there were still some good parts, especially in the first, I'll refer to the first half, that Joelinton does. He wins the ball really, really well in the air, as you know, Davey. You know, whether when he chests it down or whether he headers it on, brings the ball down, does really, really well. It's the next part, the killer part that you need, especially we're talking about where, for instance, Isak is making runs centrally and Joelinton just doesn't risk the ball when he goes for a safe option. So it's not as deadly as he can be. However, for instance, against Nottingham Forest, where we got into that rhythm, you can see, for instance, when how Joelinton scored his goal, Livramento does the overlapping run, takes the defender away a little bit. Joelinton's able to get onto his left foot and shoot. So those kind of possibilities can be made as well. So I think essentially how, and I don't blame him for this, doesn't really fancy Jacob Murphy and Almiron on the right hand side. And Joelinton at the moment is the best of a bad bunch on that side, and that's no kind of bad thing on Joelinton. Actually, he's an upgrade to them, which says a lot about our right hand side at the moment. It's a very temporary, it's a band-aid, but it's the one that I think. So I'll kind of spoiler alert, I do keep Joelinton on the right hand side, especially, but obviously he'll be interchanging at the moment. I would prefer him on the left, but the right hand side is so bad and ineffective that will become predictable in our attacking side. So you have to put Joelinton on that right hand side at the moment. So, but I agree with you, but I just don't see if Howe's got a better option at this moment in time. So Palace. So Palace, you see how direct their style is, how good they are in terms of counter-attacking. And if we don't have our press right, they can hurt us with the guys they got up top. And obviously with Gahey's passing and with Sarr and Mateta's pace, power, athleticism, and finishing on occasions, they can really, really hurt us. However, if you see here, this is Villa's second goal coming up. If we can clear the screen now. If you can see here in the middle, Palace, I don't know if it's Pau Torres has got the ball on Villa's side. Villa obviously got a very aggressive side, aggressive front playing team. We've got the two centre backs here. I can't see where the left back is or right backs, but I imagine they've pushed forward. I imagine that this is right on the left hand screen. Ian Matson, so you can see how far it's pushed up. So they play a very expansive style, but you can see from Palace, obviously here in the yellow, they're concentrated in that middle part of the pitch. So I think that's Hughes, Decore, I forgot the other gentleman that's in the middle of there. So they essentially want to keep Villa from attacking them centrally, and you can see their three centre backs here at the back. So they try to keep that numerical advantage in the central midfield, but and they're happy to push the opponent out left. However, as you guys can see here, if they too aren't on point with one pass through the middle, Pau Torres, ball playing centre back, which is what we're trying to get, and I think only Sven Botman and Shah are capable of this pass. If you break that press, if you break that central midfield, all of a sudden, what happens? You've got how many Villa players? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Villa players versus 3 Palace centre backs, and there can only be one winner in this. And you can see, obviously, I think is it McGinn that picks up the ball. Ollie Watkins is already on his back. Lacroix, who you'll see this in the game as well. Lacroix is the one who comes out. He's the proactive centre back. He's the one that comes into the midfield if when the ball goes into the half space. So Isak, and this is again hopefully how I'll be talking about this, because Isak is going to do the same run that Ollie Watkins make. And whoever is in that half space, be it Joe Linton, be it Tonali, be it Bruno, whoever is in that half space, needs to be aware of this and make this pass centrally. What I saw, especially in that last game against West Ham, instead of passing centrally, which is what you're going to see McGinn do to Watkins here, we've been passing it out to the flanks. Now, we've been good and rotating the flanks, but in this moment, we don't want to be passing to the flanks. There's no need for you to pass to Barnes or to whoever's on those sides there. Go centrally, make the pass that McGinn makes here, which is absolutely fantastic. Watkins does the business, rounds the keeper really well, and does what Watkins does really well and score goal. Because of that system that Palace play, once we pass that that 3-4-3 situation, that central area of the press, Palace become very, very vulnerable, and Newcastle can be capable of this. Now, it will be a lot more capable when we have Sven Botman back, but how will be also aware of this. So there's that situation there. But let me know what you guys think as well. We're about to switch up and go to the tactical board. Let me know what you think of the lineup I'm going to put. But before we do, I'm going to go through some of your comments. There's so many comments, guys, and forgive me if I'm going to look out for. I know you guys are also talking amongst yourselves. Always keep it respectful. Always keep it polite. I'll always love the challenges and the play. I love it when I see the comments firing up like this as well. And don't forget. I was going to say, do forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please do not forget. Please do like, share, and subscribe. I really, really appreciate that. Algorithms. Davey, Eddie. For sure, Philip, Joe Linton is essential for me. Oh, so this is regarding the rights. I think this is regarding the talk on the left and right. And for sure, Philip, Joe Linton is essential for me, but Gordon playing on the left had a stinker. He did. He did. I have to remember the first half. The first half, I don't think he was too bad. It's what annoys me if I watch the game twice, I feel like I can't give the real assessment I want, and I only watched the first half twice. He was okay in the first half. But if I was Isak, I'll be the most frustrated in that game because Isak keeps on making good runs and people miss him. And I do think, and again, I'm just spoiling my lineup. I think Barnes starts over Gordon. I think Gordon goes on the bench. That'll be my take so far. Any more? Well, there's tons in the comments. I'm going to try and see if there's any direct questions for me as well. There isn't. So I'm going to go to the tactics board. Guys, do let me know what your starting lineup will be. Let me make sure you guys can see this. You can see this. Let me put it on here. Yeah, you can see this. Let me zoom in so you guys get the full flavor. Let me know, you guys, if you can see it, because I do get a bit worried that is it that it might be a little bit too small. So, okay, so let me push it back. I was playing around with the tactics board. So so guys, I got Bird returning. I don't know if there's any. Are there any objections to Burn returning after Mr. Kelly's performance? I don't think there is. And I'm disappointed, guys. I don't know if you guys saw my match preview for the West Ham game. I know some of you guys were here. I was really hoping, and I know some of you guys were hoping as well, that Kelly, because Kelly, has the attributes in terms of his pace, athleticism, passing ability. He should be not a shoo-in, but he should be in front of Burn. But from what we've seen so far in performances, only the Chelsea game, the League Cup game where he played well, this was his opportunity against West Ham, and for the first goal, obviously the set piece goal, and then if anybody questions why Burn is is in the team. This is why he's in the team, especially is for those type of set piece goals. He didn't cover himself in glory, Kelly, and to dislodge Burn. I would have thought it can't be that difficult, and there's no slight to Burn, at all. Like, he's incredible, you know. Yeah, I was just hoping more from Kelly. Maybe in my mind I've overhyped Kelly. I don't know. What's you guys' thoughts? Maybe he just needs more runs in the team. Maybe if after that really good performance against Chelsea in the League Cup, if Howe just kept him on and he was in that rhythm, he would still be in the squad. But obviously he's taken them off because he gave Burn a rest. Burn was still playing well, and he put Burn back into the team. And Howe was justified for doing that because we beat Arsenal. I think was the next game Arsenal? Yeah, it was the next game was Arsenal. We beat them 1-0. So what do you do with that? Howe was justified to take him off. So anyway, I've got as it is on paper. Who did I put? I did something wrong here. Munoz, right? So 3-4-3 for Crystal Palace, which can go into a 3-2-4-1 at different phases of play. For Palace, this is Palace's squad, which we saw play against Aston Villa. From front to the back, obviously Mateta, Sarr, and Devaney. The 2 10s will be, in this case, will be Sarr and Devaney. I don't know too much about Devaney. I know a little bit about Sarr. Devaney obviously scored for Palace in that game as well against Villa. He scored from a set piece. No, he didn't score from a set piece. He scored from a break. He scored from I should have break, actually. That was a really good break. And he actually goes to Liam Knowles' point about how devastating Palace are in the break. So he scored in the break. It was a really, really good break. So they are going to be their 2 10s. And those 2 10s are going to be very, very important. And Hughes and Decore will be their 2 pivots in the middle. This is what allows them to kind of keep that box midfield. This is what they like to have. This is where they like to have that kind of central dominance, territorial dominance in the midfield. However, if you look up the stats, for instance, I should have showed you the territorial map. There isn't really any part of the pitch that they dominate, but what the whole point of it, of having those 2 pivots and those 2 number 10s, is to have this territorial dominance. Can I get it out? Can I get the here we go. Is to have this sort of territorial dominance in the middle of the park, whether in possession or out of possession. So that's what they're seeking to do. Let me get my cursor back. Can I get my cursor back? Yes, I can. Okay. So that's that 3-4-3 position with the 2 pivots in the middle. And obviously Muniz and Mitchell, who are the ones that are going to be doing a lot of running in this game. Well, they do a lot of running in a game because of the way that they play the wing backs. They'll be the guys that go forward, and they kind of help to add into the attacks as well. We'll see some of that. Now, how far forward they go, sometimes they just reach the byline, actually. And what happens is the 10s. We'll go into it a little bit more, kind of push up. Obviously, they try to. They don't really do too much on the width. They can do, but they like to essentially give that numerical advantage in the middle of the pitch. What they will do also is, if Newcastle attack on the left, for instance, Muniz will drop back in here. Mitchell will come into the midfield and add a lot more numbers as well. That kind of stuff there, and try and make sure that when Newcastle try to create numerical advantage, like we like to do when we put 3 players up top, for instance, you'll see Trippier doing that. So instead of having 2 players against 3, you see Hughes dropping in and supporting. That kind of stuff going on there. So that's what that's the kind of advantage of having the 2 pivots, but also having the wing backs where they come and support there as well. So they kind of help in the attack as well as in the defense, and it's pretty, because they keep such a compact. Positionally, the players are so compact, they're so close to each other. They're able to support each other defensively off the ball, but they're also able to, on the ball. There's always players available. They're always able to attack as well as do the direct attacks, which we'll see as well with the players that they've got. Newcastle United. So what do you guys think in terms of the starting lineup? I've returned Burn to the starting lineup. I think it's a no-brainer. unfortunately for Kelly. I think Bruno does play. And I think I'm hoping. I've got no information, but I think Bruno does play. I think this whole thing about Bruno being injured, he is injured, but I don't think he's that injured. I think he will come back. I don't think I'm sure he'll get a massage, some steam, and he'll be fine. And he plays with Tonali. And now what I'm hoping to see is that this will be the that how whether they play well or play badly together. I know this isn't great, but they need to play well. They need to play together consistently. Bruno and Tonali, they are two of our best central midfielders in our squad, and they need to build a partnership together. So I want to see them. I do keep Joe Linton out on the right. I know it's not the solution going forward. It is a band-aid. It really, really is a band-aid. But Almiron, Murphy are not doing it for us at all. I think what helps, I don't know what you guys think about this, obviously, but what will help is having Trippier. And I know that Livramento wasn't too bad in the game. He was okay. But I just think Trippier, Byrne, and Shaw, you've got that experience. They're veterans. Trippier, whoever's seen kind of them play live, is an exceptional communicator. And he's also really good. Remember that season, he's also really good in terms of being a creator for our team as well. And I think we need him back in terms of providing that kind of creative side for our game. And I think I won't be surprised, again, spoiler alert, if Joe Linton gets another goal as a result of Trippier being in the squad on that right-hand side for us. I put Joe Linton in centre-back as well. And I've got Barnes instead of Gordon. I would bench Gordon. I think he's have been very mixed. Again, the international break didn't do him any favours because I think he picked up against Nottingham Forest a little bit. And obviously gave that great assist against Arsenal, but he didn't have a great game against West Ham. And Barnes, I think it's time for him to return. I kept Willock in the midfield, though I would be open to how possibly putting in Miley at some stage if he's available. But Willock hasn't been bad. And I think what Hal likes about Willock is when we do go into that, when we do have possession, we go into a 4-2-4. So Willock supports Isak a lot in the press, especially. So we go into this 4-2-4. Joe Linton will come up, Barnes will come up, Willock will support Isak in the press. Our two midfielders in Bruno and Tonali will come up. And obviously Trippier will play very expansive, especially at the back. Trippier and Hall will be out on. So you'll have Isak, not Isak. Joe Linton, Isak, Willock, something along these lines, where you have obviously trying to spread the play a lot. Trippier will even really, really press up high type of thing as well. Depends on what side we'll attack. And so Willock's really good at that and kind of helping with the press, the dynamism that he provides, but he's also good in his recovery run. So if we do lose the ball, for instance, he'll be on top of, he'll be supporting in the recovery runs, which Bruno isn't, he does his best, but he's not the greatest, and kind of supporting Lewis Hall and Bruno in terms of the recovery runs and kind of stopping those transitions as well. So I think that's why Willock stays, in my opinion, in the game. But let me know what you guys think. Would you play Willock? Would you play Longstaff? Would you play Miley? Let me know what you think. So let me go to the comments before I add a little bit further onto that. Let me know what you guys think of the starting lineup. Have you guys? Is there anything in the top comments? Have I missed anything out? Probably did. Let me see. Where am I? Let me see. Head coach. Exactly. Yeah. I don't get Ian. If there's any questions for me, Ian, I was saying the match. Thought they were going to win. I was massively disappointed. Is that for me? Davey, Eddie, Ian. Oh no, you're talking to Ian. You're not even talking to Ian. Aren't even talking to me. That's cool. Oh, here we go. Davey, Eddie, Philip. I felt for Kelly. I was expecting a better game for him. Yeah, so was I. Ball watching for Suchek's yes goal, and should have challenged for the second goal exactly. Just stood still and stuck his leg out. Yeah, that wasn't great. And I was surprised with Joe Linton. He didn't follow the run. That is so unlike him. Don't think it's a perform against for if there's anything more. I'm starting to think. Fans and no, you don't have to keep. Okay, yeah, Liam Knowles. Agree. Bench Gordon. A light, a fire, ready for Liverpool. Oh yeah, yeah. He does turn it up against Liverpool, don't he? Final comment here from Davey Eddie. Philip, my team would be Pope. Yep. Tino, so you keep Tino. Yeah. Shaw, Burn, Hall, Bruno Tonali, Joe Linton. So in the midfield, yeah, I can see that. Obviously, that's probably the best midfield we can have. But then who would you have? You'd have Willock, Isak, and Gordon. So you'd have Willock on the right. Is that Willock on the right, Davey, or is it Gordon on the right? I'd imagine you probably have Gordon on the left, isn't it? And then Willock on the right. Okay. Hopefully, it was just a bad day in the office on Monday, and that is what I hope for too. So, we'll start off with in terms of how Newcastle Palace Palace in possession. Now they've got a couple guys that are good in possession. One of them obviously is Mr. Gahey himself. So Gahey will be the one mainly responsible. So let me just bring our players back a bit so we can start quickly here. Lewis Hall, Bruno, Tonali, and yeah, look, they will be trying to get the ball off to Gahey. I haven't looked at the passing patterns against Villa, but for the goal that we just saw, obviously it was Gahey, and I imagine Gahey, and for the game I saw against Fulham as well, Gahey is the guy that starts off things for them. Muniz obviously joined the positions here. Chalobah, Lacroix, Gahey on the right hand side. So 3-4-3. The main thing that Palace are going to be trying to do, we mentioned, is create that box midfield, pass it from out the back. They're not averse to passing it straight to their midfield. This is where Newcastle have to be very, very careful. However, and obviously Palace will try to create those numerical advantages by using their wing backs to come and join into the midfield. So what you'd see is Muniz, Hughes, the Corey doing their centre back thing. So Newcastle. So for instance, Isak obviously will be leading the press here against Gahey. Let me spread out their centre backs a little bit because just to be able to make a point really. Isak here, for instance. So this will be going onto the our left side, but their right side. Isak will be here, trying to close things down. And now it's up to how wants him to do it. I would imagine that it's Willock that would join him and will try and block the passing lanes to Lacroix. Barnes will either probably try to block off Mitchell. Bruno here over Devaney. Let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can see here. Mateta, Joe Linton. Now, it's going to be interesting. So, this is where they try to create the advantage. So you'll have Tonali, so Bruno, Devaney, Mateta, Sarr. They are going to try and create these type of situations where they can break on us really, really quickly. Burn in the middle. Joe Linton will be here. Trippier will be here. For instance. Well, it'll be interesting to see how Howe wants to do it. You'll have Burn against Mateta, obviously. Bruno trying to block. So the press will be Isak trying to do the press. Willock could be trying to block the passing lanes to Lacroix. Tonali will be in support. Now, I'll be interested to see how they do it. Would they do it Tonali trying to block the passing channels to the core, and then, or would he be trying to plus? It'll be like this. No, it'll be like this. It'll be Tonali the core, I imagine, and Bruno. Or would it be Bruno? You guys let me know. trying to do the 1v1s here. Now, Trippier's role is going to be very interested in, because this is going to be the killer part. Because what would naturally happen is Palace, because of the playing the 3-4-3, they'll be trying to, oh gosh, what is this? We're trying to create these type of numerical advantages. You see Muniz coming in, you see Chalobah coming in. Can they get the ball off to these guys and try and create, this is where they try to create these type of numerical advantages. And if, for instance, we're not close in the press, as we saw against Palace, if Tonali follows, the Corey will be trying to create the space, trying to get him to follow him and create these kind of gaps here. So he can get the ball directly to Mateta, get him in 1v1 situations with Burn, which could be very devastating for us. So in that situation, do you keep Trippier back? Do you keep Hall back to keep with the pace? I don't think so. Isak will be in charge of the press. I think you would have Trippier here. Again, involved in the passing channels. The main thing is to block those passing channels. Bruno Devaney, and it'll be very, very important. It'll be Tonali and responsibility, I think, on Decore, I think. Joe Linton on Hughes. Now, again, physically wise, I always fancy Joe Linton against Hughes, but Hughes, as we saw, is very, very good in these type of situations. And what Joe Linton has to be wary of is if Hughes moves really deep, he creates these type of gaps here. And this is where whether Shaw or Trippier, for instance, Shaw might step in, and Trippier, it'll be Burn, Trippier, and Hall. It'll be Shaw trying to step in, or Burn. I think Burn stays with Mateta, and so he'll be trying to create these type of gaps. So Hughes goes in, creates these type of gaps, so they can get the ball off to Sarr, or really directly just bypass the midfield totally. And this is when Newcastle have to be very, very organized. Who steps in at what point? And that's why I think Trippier comes in. That's why I think Shaw, Burn, and Trippier, between themselves especially, will be there to provide the communication, the leadership to ensure that Newcastle don't get caught out whilst in terms of those breaks. Now, where do we go with Newcastle in terms of when we are being pressed and when we are also obviously on the ball ourselves? So I know there's various phases and stuff like that, but for the sake of time, I'm going to do Palace in possession and then us in possession, because I think that's where the game could be potentially won and lost. Where did I put Trippier? Trippier here, Tonali, Barnes, Willock. And I do hope for Barnes that he has a good game as well. He needs a consistent run in the team. But he can only do that with good performances. Joe Linton, Isak, who I think has been playing relatively well as well. So let me make sure I sort out Palace as well. Hughes, Decore in the pivot. Muniz out here. Sarr out here. Mateta, Sarr, Devaney, the two number 10s. Okay, Mitchell here. Okay. Chalobah. Here we go. All right. So before I go into what we're going to be doing in possession, let me see if you guys have got any comments for me to read. Davey Eddy, I like Joe Linton and Willock on the left. Yeah, and they have a really good partnership as well. I'm sure how, again, I could be totally wrong. I'm sure how would want to make sure that relationship stays there. I like Joe Linton and Willock on the left. Gordon has his moments also. Has moments also, of course, on the left, but put him back over on the right. And you know what? That's the part. That's the simplest plan, but the plan that makes the most sense. The problem is, Gordon is just not playing well. And when he doesn't play well, it's really, really annoying. But I wonder, should Trippier return, could that unlock Gordon a little bit? I'm going to go back to that. I wonder if Trippier's return could unlock Gordon a little bit, because then you can play players in their natural positions. Oh, sorry, did I miss that? Davey Eddie, I do. The problem is Joe Linton can't finish. We are severely lacking in midfielder scoring. Yeah, we are. Philip, it was yourself who highlighted Joe Linton and Willock on the left and how well they work together. Yeah, I really like it. And for me, it just suits Willock especially. And you know what? I might put him back. I'm going to put him back in this situation. David, Eddie, it's either Isak scores or we don't. Yeah. Uh, yeah, who else is scoring at the moment? Well, Willock, yeah, I mean, Nottingham Forest. This is our best performance. Barnes scored, Joe Linton scored, and who else scored? Barnes, Joe Linton, someone else scored. I don't think Isak scored. And Isak. That was, just that international break killed it really. But hopefully not for long. Hopefully that was temporary. Ian, that's to Ian. Davey Eddie's too much on his shoulders. Final comment. Liam knows we lose Bruno as a 6 when he does step out to create against the low block. We are exposed. Yeah, 23-24, he had more freedom, Tonali or a new 6. And that's why we needed a really proactive right centre back. That's why I was trying to get Gahey so much, because Gahey was going to be the person that would cover the other fullbacks. He's a centre back, but he's almost acting like a DM. So kind of the role that Longstaff does is what Gahey was supposed to do. But obviously, that's not what happened. We didn't get him. Big Joe and Willock link up is far better on the team. All right, fine. And I agree with you guys. Big Joe and Gahey, not Big Joe and Gahey. Big Joe and Willock link up. All right, so let's restore it. Let's restore it. So that means Barnes stays on the bench. Barnes is going to be vexed. He's like, what do I have to do to get into this team? Like, how many goals, how many assists do I have to do? And how persists of Gordon. And this is where Trippier might be the man for Gordon. Can he unlock? Can Trippier and Tonali, the introduction of Trippier and Tonali, unlock Gordon on the right? Both are very good at the ball. Both will look for Gordon, will try to get the ball to Gordon as much as possible. And what happens straight away, I'm sure you guys can feel it, the balance is restored. Now then, Barnes will be annoyed because he's thinking Joe Linton's ahead of me in the left midfield forward position. But you got that relationship with Willock and Joe Linton. You got that physicality, that athleticism, but you got that understanding. Plus, you got the quality on the ball of Hall, who in the last 2 or 3 games is the person who gets the most touches on the ball in our team. And you get this kind of special triangle that's getting built, in which Bruno joins in with as well. But also on the right side, you got the balance of Tonali, Trippier, and Gordon. I know Gordon doesn't fancy the right side, but can Trippier, who's constantly communicating, constantly talking, be able to support? Can he, which I think he can do. So what would happen is Palace will be in the press, but Palace are a bit different in the press. What they will try to do is they have a number of options when they do the number 10 option. Now they can try and go man for man, no problem. And you'll have the two number 10s responsible for doing that, to try and block off the passing lanes. They can do that. And obviously you'll have Hughes, Decore, Muniz. Muniz will be interesting how he does it. How far does he go up? But then obviously you'll have these 3 here. The main thing is the 3 here, almost flat, with Chalobah, Gahey, Mitchell, and others. And they'll be responsible. You'll have this type of situations where they'll try to go man for man. So Sarr on Bruno, Devaney on Willock, Decore blocking off Isak, Mitchell blocking off Joe Linton, and then you'll keep the 3 in the back here, and they'll try to, and obviously Mateta then will do these type of curve runs where whilst he's blocking the passing lane to Burn. So Lewis Hall's got the ball here, obviously, while he's blocking off the passing lane to Burn. He'll be obviously trying to close down Willock and get the ball that way. Devaney will be responsible for obviously blocking off Willock, and Mitchell will be responsible for blocking off Joe Linton. Now, in this, that's one way they can try and do it. The problem for Palace is, if we're kind of looking at 1v1 duels, I fancy Joe Linton against Mitchell all day. I think he can get the ball. Now, he won't take the mick. He's not going to be doing it all the time. But I think in these type of situations, Joe Linton can get the ball. Willock and Devaney, I don't know how that battle will go, But can he create situations where Willock maybe either drops in deep or goes out wide and creates this type of spaces where he gets Isak involved, where Isak's been dropping in a lot as well, Bruno coming in as well. So Ishmael Sarr will be responsible for that. So Ishmael Sarr will be in a situation where he's got Bruno and Tonali, and that's not good because both of them, if you guys remember the Everton game, started to build that relationship, or they'll rotate. You see Tonali dropping in, Bruno going out wide. What does Sarr do? Does he go after Bruno, or does he drop in with Sarr and then communicate with Hughes? Hughes, make sure you got Bruno, because if he misses that, if he doesn't communicate with him, if he's not quick enough, Hughes, who likes to do similar movements, that ball goes off to Bruno. And once that ball goes off to Bruno, he can turn around. He will have Isak, he'll have Gordon, and the potential of a break like that. And you got a 3-versus-3 type of situation. Now, Crystal Palace have got athletic centre backs, Lacroix, Chalabar, Gehi, obviously as well. But they don't want to be caught in those situations on a constant basis. The other way they will also press, they don't necessarily have to go man for man. What they will try to cause is a situation where they'll set traps. So you'll have Lewis Paul here on the ball, Bruno, Joe Linton, so Mateta. So Mateta will be responsible for the press. And what you'll have a situation is Sarr, for instance, will let Bruno get ahead of him. The Corey will let or Tonali get ahead of them as well. Maybe Devaney sticks of Willock Mitchell in front of Joe Linton. But they'll try to create a situation where Lewis Hall thinks he can pass to Tonali, and then Decore and Sarr will try to get in front and create these type of situations where it's a 2-on-1. So Bruno has to be around, and if it's Tonali, for instance, that drops in, they might kind of set that trap and try and get a 2-versus-1 situation with Tonali. However, I think if it's Bruno, I think they don't. I don't think they try to do that 2v1 because Bruno's so really good at being press resistant. Or maybe they do. Maybe they say, that's the person we try, but it's going to be very difficult. I think, as always, and I don't know if you guys saw it, Solar in the West Ham game was responsible for man marking Bruno. And I think Morgan Gibbs-White, Nottingham Forest, were again responsible for man marking Bruno. So what we're seeing a lot now is people man marking Bruno. Teams obviously are recognizing that Bruno is pretty much the trend, not the trendsetter. He's the man that gets us going. He's the man that gets us ticking. And if he gets the ball and he's allowed to turn around with it, for instance, in these type of situations, if the Corey is not quick enough and Bruno is able to turn, Joe Linton is on his bike, Willock's on his bike, Isak's on his bike, and you can create these type of situations where Hughes hasn't got the recovery runs to be able to hold him down, and you can get these 4-versus-3 situations as well. So I think what would happen is you probably get a Decore who's really good on the ball, or Devaney, not on the ball, off the ball, Decore or Devaney, for instance, to try and man mark Bruno through the game. Hughes less so because I don't think he's. I keep underestimating Hughes. Hughes on the ball is great. Hughes off the ball isn't as good as Decore. I'll say that. That's what I'll say. But Hughes has really good movement as well. So it's going to be key for Palace to ensure that Bruno isn't allowed to turn and get off the ball. But what that might mean is Tonali is a little bit more free. If they're foolish enough to let Tonali have that little bit of space, and we're able to get the ball off to Tonali, he could also punish them. Similar if Trippier's on the ball. And the thing is, this is the positivity, and it's not a knock on Tino. Tino is very press resistant as well, but he's more of a ball carrier. But Trippier and Hall have those similar type of profiles where they're really good on the ball, and they are very, very creative. And so, very similar here again. If Trippier gets the ball, which now you got almost like a shared load. Now Newcastle become less predictable, for instance, where in the last 3 or 4 games, you know that they're going to look to pass to Hall. They're going to look to pass to Hall. Now they can either pass to Hall or to Trippier. Now the movement totally changes again. Now, Mateta is going to be responsible for doing that break, and you have Saar and Devaney as the two responsible number 10s, trying to ensure that these guys aren't able to get the ball so easily. So Tonali, Shaw, and again, if it's not Trippier, it'll be Shaw, who's really good at direct ball. So they'll be trying to ensure, Hughes will try to ensure that there's no passing lanes to Isak. They've got the front three. The front three will move over like this. Mitchell will back up, for instance, if the ball's on the right side. Joe Linton, Hall, and they'll try to create these type. Where's the Corey? The Corey's here. Bruno's here. The Corey will be following Bruno. The Vaney will be supporting Mateta, trying to block off Shaw. I would think. And Saar will be here trying to make sure that Gordon, doesn't get the ball either. So then you'll have the centre backs here, Mitchell, Hall, and others. But our guys are good on the ball, and so they'll be responsible for ensuring that essentially Newcastle can't play through the press. How they do that, whether they set traps or they go 1v1, will be interesting to see. But Newcastle, in my opinion, let me know what you guys think, have been very good in terms of playing through the press. And when you got the options of Trippier and Gordon, they don't mind whether they're going to play through the press or they get off to, for instance, if they get off to Shaw or Trippier himself, they're really good with their long ball passing as well. They might just go direct. In which case you get Chalobah 1v1 with Gordon type of situations as well, and forcing them back. And because they concentrate so well, so much, Palace, you can bypass their midfield and create these 1v1 situations. And then you get 4-on-3, 3-on-3 situations as well. Palace's defenders are no slouches. And so it'll be interesting to see how Newcastle do it. But you guys saw, for instance, from Aston Villa game, that Palace press can be broken and you can create these type of situations. It'll be up to Newcastle to create advantages to make sure they convert their opportunities as well. But I think Bruno and Tonali, versus the Corey and Hughes, or the Corey and Devaney, and otherwise, and I'm sure Muniz will be trying to create numerical advantage as well. If Trippier or Shaw are able to create, Shaw's been doing a lot of these type of situations as well. If the players on this side, you see Trippier and Shaw, he's been doing a lot of these type of balls. I don't know if you guys can see on the screen. For instance, it's either to Hall or to Joe Linton. And then you start creating these type of situations, obviously 2v1 situations against Mitchell, Willock, Isak, Lacroix, Gordon here, and these type of 2v1 situations. And Lewis's Hall passing, you can create these type of numerical advantages as well. So it's going to be a very interesting game. But Palace, we spoke about what Palace will do. Are they going to be playing a low block? Are they going to be pressing as high, for instance? We kind of showed two type of situations. If Newcastle scores first, especially, and that's going to be key. If Newcastle score first, Palace have to come out. And if they come out, they make themselves vulnerable to those type of situations. But either way, Palace can't afford, in my opinion, to sit in a low block throughout the game, and I don't think they will. I think they'll come out to try and play Newcastle, especially at Selhurst Park, where they beat us convincingly last time. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Obviously, there's various other phases of play. Because of time, I'm not going to go through them all. But I think those have been kind of the key ones there. Both of our teams need the win. Both of our teams have been lacking in terms of conversions and goals and everything else. Palace more so, and have been leaking goals in the back. Again, Palace more so. And so Newcastle have to show their quality and have to show their ability on the ball and be clinical in front of goal. And I think we've got the creators, we've got Trippier, we've got Hall in this lineup anyway. And I think even off the bench, and I think I've been watching some of Palace's Palace fans channels as well. Palace have been really tired. Their players have been really tired playing that 3-4-3, playing in that high pressing style. takes a lot out of you, whereas Newcastle are a lot more used to it. And I think the longer if the game stays even, for instance, the longer it stays even, and Newcastle maintain that pressure, we've got enough players to come off the bench and to continue that pressure. Whether Wilson comes on, maybe Wilson comes on and joins Isak, and we take off maybe someone from the midfield, or Solo is there. Barnes obviously can come on, make a change for Willock, for instance, and join Joe Linton. Kind of keep that pressure on Palace. And I think we've got a few game changes. We'll have Wilson on, Barnes, those type of guys who can change things from off the game. So as a result of that, I back Newcastle. I'm not going to say my prediction just yet, or I'll kind of give it away, but I back Newcastle to get the win. Do I back Newcastle to keep a clean sheet is another story altogether. But I think we can win this game. I'm going to say 2-1. We have to win. I can see easily why we'll go for a 1-1, but we have to win this game. So I back Newcastle to win 2-1. And I've got Joe Linton and Isak as our goal scorers for that game. But let me know what do you guys think? What do you think? How else can Newcastle take advantage of Crystal Palace? What would you predict? What scoreline do you guys predict? Do you think we can get the win? Can we get the W away from home? Let me read the comments and conclude the stream. And I do think I agree with you as well. I think with you guys, I think Gordon on the right, Willock and Joe Linton on the left is far more balanced. I think hopefully with Trippier, like I said, Trippier as a right back, hopefully will unlock Gordon a little bit more. But if Gordon has another stinker, we have to take him off. Davey Eddie Phillip, it's good that we've got a good debate going. It's going to be interesting to see what Eddie does. I agree. And the fact we can actually debate is a sign that we've actually got a squad. We've got some depth on the bench. Like I said, Callum. If we choose this lineup, Callum Wilson, Harvey Barnes, Miley. We'll have some guys on the bench that can come off the bench and make a difference. Livramento or Trippier, who plays. I think Trippier does, but yeah, it's good to have those type of options. Davey Eddie, to be fair, if Barnes gets the nod, I'll be okay with that. So would I. And if Trips and Gordon play together, that would be okay also. Very interesting. I agree. Because I think, did Trippier and Gordon play together against Man City? Oh no, it started off with Trippier and Murphy, and Gordon was on the left in the second half. Yeah. I'm trying to remember when Gordon and Trippier last played together on the same side. Ian McKenna, I can't stop eating Yorkshire puddings. Just thought I'd mention that. Nah, don't blame me, Ian. You eat as many. Well, yeah, I was going to say eat as many Yorkshire puddings. Do your thing. Do your thing. Make sure you run and afterwards though, burn off those calories. Cheers, Liam Knowles. Cheers, Philip. Got me through last part of 5 hours on the road. Glad I was able to do that, Liam. Glad I was able to do that. Back in God's country, black and white. A wild card about Miggy on the right with Trips. And you know what? That's when I've seen live. That's what I mean about the communication. Trippier, when I've seen them play together, that's the constant communication that Trippier does. And you know what? You could see Almiron start. You could see Almiron start for that reason as well. Good call there, Liam. Davey Eddie, yes, Ian, I get the fact that Isak was frustrated, but not half as frustrated as the watching fans. Yeah, I feel it for Isak sometimes, man. Because you have to remember, Isak played with David Silva when he was at Real Sociedad. And there was that interview when they asked Isak who's the best player he's ever played with, and he said David Silva, because he goes, no matter where he was on the pitch, him being Isak, David Silva can always find him. So, that tells you a lot about the frustration that Isak is probably feeling when he's not getting found. David Eddie, I just think there is an over-reliance. Oh, Tino, how you doing, sir? Great content. I really appreciate that coming from you, because you make some incredible material. And that reminds me, I'm meant to get in contact with you, sir, because I would love to have you on the show at some point. Let me know if you're open to that, Tino Abia. It would be really good to chop it up with you. David Eddie, a few goals from other players would help a lot. I agree. Liam Knowles, Miggy has never been on the right has never been the right wing answer. I agree, but he stretches the pitch in away games. Yeah. David Tino in the house. You and Philip always put good content on your channels. Thank you, David. Appreciate you for that. Ian McKenna, after St. Louis Hall is looking chef's kiss. He is. David Ian, 1%. Are you talking to Ian? You're not talking to me. Tina Abel, we both appreciate you, Davey, for your continued support on our channels. You are a legend. You are, Davey. You really are. Ian McKenna, Toon Tactics TV. This is like the good old days of football manager. Shola Mioba won me the Champions League once in the last minute. He did. Do you remember that? Yes, Liam. All right, last comment there, and I will. Oh yeah, get your predictions in. I see. Get your predictions. Get your predictions in. Give me scoreline predictions, guys. I've had 2-1. I've had 2-1 with Joe Linton and Isak as the goal scorers. Let me know what your score predictions are and who are your goal scorers. Davey Eddie, Philip, I genuinely think we will win on Saturday and an improved performance coming up. Me too. And Liam Knowles here with the score prediction 2-1 win. All right, folks. So we've got to the end of the show. I didn't get to talk transfers and stuff like that. There've been a few names that have been coming up as well. But I will do that in the next midweek show, which I think will be next week Tuesday. I can't remember what our next game is, but I'll be talking a lot more transfers then. But we did talk in the show. We talked all about Crystal Palace, find out their strengths, their weaknesses, what they're good at, what they're not so good at. We showed some of their highlights from the Aston Villa game. Showed what kind of a good counter pressing side they can be. Good 3-4-3. 3-4-2-1 formation they play, progressive and high pressing when they want to be, as well as obviously from a defensive point of view can be counter-attacking and really hurt teams as well. And also we talked about obviously what we need to do as a team. We got the tactical board out as well. See where we can take, where we can hopefully take advantage of Palace as well. And we've got you guys to give us some of those predictions. Oh yeah, is Liverpool on Wednesday? So we've got to win. We've got to win. We've got to win against Palace. We're going to go in. We have got to go in on good form. I've given my conclusion. I've given my predictions. 2-1 to Newcastle. Joe Linton and Isak with the goals. And obviously we've got a few there. Other people saying Liam 2-1 win. Davey Eddie with a win as well. Guys, it's been absolutely amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And hopefully see you all for the match reaction. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care of yourselves and each other. And as always, folks, make sure you have a good evening. And God bless, folks.